So in this video we're talking about the squat, and the squat movement essentially builds on the hinge movement that you may have seen before. If you haven't, then you may want to watch that video first. So essentially what we're going to be starting with is aligning our rib cage on top of our pelvis. So if we're imagining that our rib cage is a bowl and our pelvis is a bowl, we're trying to put those two bowls on top of one another. So we're trying to make sure that we're not condensing them together like this, and we're not spilling them out like this. So if we're placing them on top of one another, that gives us a nice base for our core to work really well, and it makes our back straight. So we're starting the same way that we did with the hinge. So here, and then we're starting with the hips. So we want to move those hips first, and we want to shift back. So we're hinging at the hips, but now I'm also starting to bend at my knees as well as I'm going into this movement. There are many ways to do the squat depending on what we're doing it for, or where we're placing our weights, if we're doing it as a strength exercise. But for this, typically I teach it this way, where we're pushing the hips way back to take the stress off of our knees. So we're pushing the hips back, and the knees start to bend. My spine is straight, my core is on. I'm not starting with my hips from here. This is not a hip movement, this is a back movement. And I'm also not letting my back round as I'm doing this as well. The other thing we want to take a look at is our knees, making sure that as we're going down into the squat, the knees are tracking out, not inward. So the squat shouldn't look like this. The knees need to track out. The feet, I have my arches on, so they're not collapsing inward. My toes are not lifting up. We want to make sure that we're not pushing out the knees like this either. So my feet are staying flat on the floor. I don't know if you can see it in the video, but they're staying flat on the floor. I'm not simply pushing my knee out like this. I'm actually thinking about grounding my feet and pushing from my feet and my knees at the same time. That's about it. Give it a try. See how you feel.